Welcome very much, ladies and gentlemen, to our channel. And I have to give William Ruto some credit in this video because having realized that Nairobi is a bit slippery for him, he opted to design different ways of trying to make sure that he woos the city on his side. And he has been on a 2-day tour after the endorsement in Kasarani on Tuesday. On Wednesday and today, he's been doing a tour of Nairobi County. And I saw that his strategy is very easy. He gets to a crowded place, then comes out of the sunroof. Then with that, the crowd will build up and pile up around him. Then he can find an audience to address. So unfortunate was the one that he held in Ngara, where it actually caused a snarl up in the Thika Road. But again, he is trying to woo the Nairobi city because I think this is a place that Raila have a massive support. William Ruto has been trying very best to try to play a catch-up, especially in Nairobi, because in terms of the tribal dominance here, the backyard, or rather his backyard, and our politics is tribal, so we cannot bury our heads in the sand. His backyard do not have a very good representation in the city. In fact, the only MP that is from here is Korir, who is MP in Langata, the other side. Now, today something happened very critical, and I want us to look at that. There is an instant in Makadara when he was doing the rally. You know what he does is walk along or just drive along the cities and these other areas and the shanties, Makadara, go to Makadara, Korogocho, Babadogo, all these areas, and address roadside rallies. So when he arrived somewhere in Makadara, I think just around, for people who know, around the Buruburu Junction, yes, close to our Soko iko hapa, the Soko that is just adjacent hapo chini, actually opposite Mesora. Now, there was, he found there an audience. And this audience was the classified audience that we now talk about. These ones that have been paid and facilitated and all that. So he felt that there was a bit of some rejection there. And there is a video that I want to play it for you. I want you to watch this video, very critical, because it's going to be part of what we're going to analyze. And pay attention to the audience in front of the car where the other speakers are coming to address. Then pay attention also to what happened immediately after the last speaker walked out, or after the last speaker addressed the crowd. Kindly watch it here, because this is the moment where there was a walkout from his rally.
Ataongea. Naomba kura ya Daktari William Ruto. Wapendwa, hebu nione kura ya Ruto. Hebu nione kura ya Ruto. Nione kura ya Bishop Margaret Wanjiru. Na wapenda, Yesu ni Bwana. Panda. Lakini hapo juu, mimi nakuwatia. Mimi nakuaminia. Hapa chini. Walioni. Haya. Watani wachie. Watani wapatie. Watani mtie. Sasa wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, the fifth president. Mimi naitwa Patrick Mwangi Macharia, ama Pato Daktari. Mimi nilibiwa kura hapa na Jubilee government, na saa hii wamekugeukia. Mimi ndio mama Millicent Omanga aka Mama
Now, there was address by two aspirants. If you look at this video, like here, this aspirant is someone called, I think, Maina. I think he's eyeing Bahati seat there, MCS seat, ward seat there. Then, when he came to the podium, because the crowd there, if you look at this crowd here, was calling for his name. It was him and another gentleman known as Onesmus. So immediately he came to address the crowd. The crowd was a bit charged. Then it was so interesting because William Ruto was there, and that aspirant was telling the Ruto that Jubilee government rigged him out. So the rigging claim is sinking, and this is something that should even worry the deputy president. So when the guy talked about the rigging, the person who was in charge of nominations, because he was saying he was rigged out at nominations, the person who was in charge of the nominations at Jubilee headquarters in 2017 was the Ruto, who was just standing opposite this gentleman. Now, when this gentleman came down, he walked away. In fact, he had just addressed the rally. Then all those people that were around went with him. And if you're keen, even the person who was addressing, I think even Millicent Omanga was getting worried. And the Ruto even looked at the direction these guys were taking, even though it might be they were leaving because maybe they were going to receive some facilitation. But I do understand that sometimes this facilitation is done, people are normally paid before even the rally. Because nowadays, Wakenya ni wajanja, politician, you cannot trust a politician after you complete the job. So this whole team went away. Now, the team that remained back, if you are keen, when Millicent Omanga was addressing that crowd, the crowd was very dull. And the crowd was not engaging with him. In fact, they were just looking at him. Secondly, if you look at it, you realize that the people that were in front of the car were not jovial. As in, they were not interacting with the speakers. They were the ones that were interacting with the speakers. But immediately the other gentleman left with his team, the crowd was very dull. And in fact, William Ruto took around 20 minutes there. Then he went ahead. So one thing you will actually realize is the only people that interacted with the Kenya Kwanza team that place was the classified audience of the other gentleman. Immediately also the Onesmus spoke. And I think I need to show you the Onesmus one here. He went, and after he spoke, the crowd went very down. So you will actually see that there was a bit of that disconnect. It was not such a big issue, but you will see some disconnect. So just because of that, let's look at the Nairobi politics. William Ruto's hits and misses in the 2 days that he was doing the Nairobi rally. Ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the hits and the misses and why William Ruto maybe felt a bit of some strain in the Nairobi campaign. Number one, I think the Hustler Nation was made for Nairobi, especially for the town centers, because if there are people that feel the pinch of the economy are the people in cities. These are the fellas that pay rent, they pay for transport, they buy water, they pay for electricity, and these are the people that feel it. So on some end, I think there is a bit of low reception of the Hustler Nation narrative, and that is why they're not really buying to it. But again, it might also be attributed to the fact that the Hustler Nation thing is being repeated, because this thing has been there for the last 3 years and now it's becoming a bit monotonous. That's just to my own opinion. And I think the reception is not so much overwhelming as it was when it started. Number two, I think the Nairobi tour, the Nairobi rallies, it was well coordinated in terms of mobilization, but it did not have an end goal. Especially, let me say, these tours are normally coordinated first to campaign, apart from seeking the national vote, the presidential vote, also to campaign for the city leaders, for these leaders who are seeking the elective seats in Nairobi. Remember, in Nairobi, William Ruto or rather any party would actually want to take control of the city. So they don't have, I think, if it was to be well coordinated, then they would have done the roadside rallies, then at least get somewhere and converge, even if it is going to Jacaranda like they did last time, or if it is going to some stadium somewhere, so that they also addressed a rally. But just the roadside looks like it's just a normal tour. So for me, that will be that will be a bit of a miss. Then number 3, also something I'm looking at is the messaging in Nairobi. For any political, be it the Azimio or the UDA side, in Nairobi you have to be very tactical because you must do mapping. The Kenya Kwanza team cannot go to Kibera and start saying all the ill things about Raila Odinga. The same way, this team cannot just move this other side of, let's say, Mukuru kwa Ruben, and you want to say all the ills against President Uhuru Kenyatta. So the messaging in Nairobi and Raila Odinga have like support all through. So I think the Nairobi messaging was not tailor-made. So that when I am in Makadara, I am supposed to speak, even if I am talking the enemy, this is what I am supposed to say. When I go to Korokocho, when I go to, especially these slum areas, when I go to Dagoretti, you need to find tailor-made messaging because this is where the call for unity is needed. When you speak and when you preach division, you preach something that will make people feel like we are not safe around you. That is the conversation, that is something that is already going to create fear on people, and that can breed some hate against you. So on other side, I was watching Babu Owino and the Azimio team the other side. When it comes to Nairobi, the messaging, it must be cutting edge, it must be unifying. If it is creating divisions, it is not for the Nairobi audience, I can tell you. So that's also one of the observations that I made. Lastly, Deputy President lack popular leaders in Nairobi. That is what we can actually say. Margaret Wanjiru, there. Millicent Omanga, more of a showbiz, more for the optics. Margaret Wanjiru, more for the optics. Sakaja is good, but is too sober and too calm for Nairobi politics because in Nairobi you need a bit of that radicalized aspect. That's why the Babu Owino, the other side, are normally are the people that seem to be attracting the Nairobi audience. So in my understanding, I also feel like as much as the tours in Nairobi were they were a bit of successful, but he felt some strain because he doesn't have leaders that can actually pull the audience. For example, if you look at the Makadara audience, it was pulled by the aspirants, the MC aspirant there. But they don't have someone who can say we have an aspirant, Nairobi aspirant is coming here, and so they're coming to see him for that, like maybe say governor or senator. And I can finally say that DP Ruto is missing one Mike Mbuvi Sonko. If Sonko was there, Sonko is the person that can whip Nairobi. And today, if he decides to go and vie for any elective seat, even an MP seat, anywhere, he will actually sweep it. Because he has the charisma of the Nairobi audience and he knows when to strike. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my analysis on Nairobi tour. And by next video, we're going to look at another fallout. There is an imminent fallout in UDA, and you're going to look at that.